Hello everyone, my name's Bell, and welcome to part 3 of Miraculous Bonds Beyond Fate, my Miraculous Ladybug AU with a different origin story and different other things too. Before I get into the story, I wanted to let you know of some changes I've decided to make that also count for parts 1 and 2. I didn't intend for this to become a series, and thus I have to make some adjustments. Firstly, Adrian's mom Emily is dead in this story. No ambiguous comatose state such as in the show, no disappearance, she has passed away and everyone knows it. Second, I initially had some confusing dynamic between the cat and Ladybug Miraculous in terms of their powers. In attempts to balance out their roles better, I made a weird decision. Ignore what I said before. What did I say before? Don't worry about it. After getting some feedback from you all in past videos of mine, I've decided that when it comes to defeating Sentimonsters and akumatized victims, Ladybug's role will be creating a solution to the problem and locating the item that needs to be destroyed, and Cat Noir's role will be destroying the item as well as purifying the Akuma/Amok. Quite a few of you enlightened me about how purification is the destruction of impurities, and I like that idea. So, thank you to everyone who pointed that out. Thirdly, regarding Miraculous Ladybug, the power. Yeah, that's no longer a thing. I can't justify keeping it around since it has nothing to do with creation. Once an Akuma or Amok is purified, anything happening to the people or environment as a result of the attack stops happening. So, for example, if everyone was turned into zombies by an Akuma, then they stop being zombies when the Akuma is purified. Other things such as collateral damage and injuries remain and have to be tended to on their own. I don't know, I just sort of like the idea of the heroes using their powers individually to help benefit society, rather than one magical undo button. Also, in this story, the items Ladybug creates with Lucky Charm look just like normal objects. They are not red with black polka dots. Fourth, because I never meant for this to turn into a series, I never established what Adrian was doing before he became Cat Noir. When he started school, Chloe pretty much claimed all access to him, and since she was the only person he knew, he went along with her. He saw her be stuck up and mean to people, but he kept his mouth shut because he didn't want to lose his only friend. Mari automatically thought he was like Chloe by association, and yes, this sounds a lot like canon, but just roll with me here. Speaking of which, number 5, Mari, Alia, and Nino are childhood friends, thus eliminating the problem in the show that Mari immediately became best friends with Alia after meeting her for the first time. Nino does not have a crush on Mari. He and Alia mutually like each other, but haven't told each other. When Adrian first arrived at school, both Alia and Nino weren't present for class. Either they were both out sick, or one was sick and the other had a family event, so Mari was left at school on her own to fend for herself against Chloe. Chloe, seeing that Mari was alone, laid the bullying on even thicker. The harsher parts of the bullying happened when Adrian wasn't around. Maybe he was in the bathroom or something. But when he returned, Mari didn't like him because he's friends with Chloe. The whole gum in the seat thing happens, as well as the misunderstanding between Mari and Adrian, yada yada yada. The umbrella scene still happens, I suppose. Sixth, I decided to get rid of Sabrina. Or at least, she's not Chloe's right-hand person. And lastly, 7, Gabriel was taken in by Master Fu as a teen, and Gabriel has serious father trust issues and thus never allowed himself to get attached to Fu. Or at least, he won't admit any attachment to Fu. Because of this, he never told Adrian about Fu, not only for the reasons mentioned above, but he also didn't want Adrian involved with the Miraculous. Yes, I know in the last part I did mention the connection between Master Fu and Gabriel, but it was very wishy-washy because again, I never intended this to be a series, but now I am making it more defined. This is what their relationship is. Everything else mentioned in parts 1 and 2 remained the same to my AU. Those are the only changes/additions. If this video is your first exposure to Bonds Beyond Fate, then please check out the story from the beginning, because I change it more to Miraculous Ladybug than just the power system. Return for part 3 when you are ready. For everyone else, sit back, relax, hit that like button for the algorithm, put a ladybug emoji in the comments, and enjoy Miraculous Bonds Beyond Fate Part 3. The confrontation with Gabriel Agreste, otherwise known as Hawkmoth, had occurred on Thursday evening. As the authorities continued their investigation into the event at the Agreste Manor, Ladybug and Cat Noir went to visit Master Fu. Not only did they give him a detailed explanation of what happened, but Ladybug decided it was only fair to reveal her identity to Master Fu as well, since he already knew Cat's identity. Now all 3 of them were in the loop. Master Fu felt terrible about everything that happened. He apologized to Adrian for his troubles and wished he could do everything differently. Adrian asked Fu why his father never mentioned him. Fu says it's complicated, but a big reason was to keep Adrian away from the Miraculous. Gabriel never wanted that kind of burden on his son's shoulders. Fu tries to assure Adrian that Gabriel honestly wanted the best life for him. Reflecting on said life, Adrian was a bit skeptical of that. He loved his father, but didn't exactly love how he had been raising him. Not that knowing about the Miraculous would have changed the current situation at all, but maybe he could have convinced his father that it would have been alright even if he didn't have the Ladybug Miraculous. Maybe he could have convinced his father that they didn't need that kind of power. Master Fu sighs and says he knows it's hard, even for him, but they can't get bogged down with what ifs. They need to move forward, even him. They have a duty to get the Miraculous back from Gabriel and Natalie. They must find them. To his surprise, the two teens, with confidence, guarantee that they will get the job done. He notices a new fire in their eyes, one that wasn't there before. Could he really rely on these two? He could sense the trust in each other. That's good, he thought to himself. They're going to need that trust moving forward. I still don't like that I have to rely on teenagers for this, but I have no choice. Fu finally decides to sit the two of them down and explain what the Miraculous and Kwame are, where they come from, and why they matter so much to the universe as a whole. He talked about the abstract concepts and how they relate to the Kwames and how destructive the Kwames are on their own when they use their powers. The Miraculous were eventually made so that the Kwames, who used to be more spirit-like and unable to interact with physical beings, would be able to be tangible and communicate with people. In extension, the Miraculous allows users to access a small portion of the Kwame's power when the activation command is given. However, the Miraculous, despite the name, aren't some free miracles. In order for the Kwame to gain physical form and share their power, they must connect themselves with the souls of the human that agrees to wear the Miraculous. The human is essentially the medium through which the Kwames can be physical entities. In a sense, the human host is sharing a part of their existence, their humanity, with the Kwames, while the Kwames share a part of their existence, their divine power, with the humans. This is why a Kwame can't be shared even if a Miraculous is worn by someone other than the host. They are bound to each other until the host dies. Fortunately, it's not like the Kwame is draining the life of their holder. They simply live together in harmony. For the most part, throughout history, Miraculous holders have used the powers gained through their partnership for the good of mankind, but some holders decided to use their power for nefarious reasons. Adrian's face fell even more when he heard this, thinking about his father. Master Fu continued, "When such events happen, it's always up to the other Miraculous holders to put a stop to them in some way or another by, at best, taking away the Miraculous and, at worst, ending the life of the villain." Marinette asks how many Miraculous there are. Master Fu tells them that there are as many Miraculous as there are abstract concepts in the world. Because of the amount of power these items held, it was decided, many years ago, by the hidden leaders of the world to divide the Miraculous and keep them spread across the globe. And in order to maintain order, guardians were appointed to look after these Miraculous that are kept in special containers called miracle boxes. It's a guardian's job to not only look after an active Miraculous, but also to keep and pass on the knowledge of the Miraculous to future holders and guardians. It's also a guardian's job to find worthy holders, train them, keep tabs on them, and, if necessary, retrieve any Miraculous that fall into the wrong hands. This is when Master Fu takes out his miracle box and shows the duo the remaining Miraculous. Mari and Adrian gasp. "You're the guardian?" Mari asked. "I'm a guardian, yes. There are 7 active guardians in the world, 1 for each continent. I am the guardian of the Asian miracle box." 7 guardians. So if there's an Asian miracle box, shouldn't there be a European miracle box? Adrian asked. "Yes, there is," Fu told him. "Well, where is it? Who has it? Maybe we can ask for help with my father." "Not possible," Fu admits. "What? Why?" "Most of us guardians know each other and have open communication. However, the guardian of the European miracle box is a different case. They believe that the Miraculous are dangerous and unnecessary to society. They think they shouldn't be used unless the world is in dire peril. Even then, I'm sure they try to come up with an excuse as to why they can't be used. It is their belief that, as humans, we should use our own abilities to fix our problems and not rely on Kwame's powers, for it'll make us complacent as a society. This has been the case for generations with their guardians, which is why Europe hasn't seen any Miraculous activity for hundreds of years. Because of their more extreme ideology, the European Guardians refused to reveal their identity, always using a cloak and voice-changing device to hide themselves. We almost never have a reliable means of getting into contact with them. Truly, the miracle is them showing up whenever we have a Guardian gathering. All of that is to say that even if I wanted to ask them for help, I wouldn't know how. Hearing all of that made Adrian clench his fists in frustration. He wanted to call out the European Guardian for their selfishness, but he knew he'd just be yelling out into the void. There was a means of getting his father back and saving Paris, but they refused to help. His body shook from anger. "Well, that's stupid," Mari exclaimed, unashamed. Adrian looked over at her in surprise. "Hawkmoth is using a Miraculous to terrorize Paris, which is in France, which is in Europe. I'd say this is a big enough problem to whip out the European Miraculous. Adrian and I could have had help this entire time and they just aren't doing anything about it?" She groaned. "I wish we could just track them down or something." And that's when Mari got an idea. "Hey, why don't I just create a tracker with my ladybug powers? I can find the European Guardian. No, wait. I can track down your dad, Adrian." She looked over and beamed at him. Hope came back into Adrian's eyes and he started to smile. Really?" She smiled and nodded. "Yeah, I totally should have thought about that before. We can find him in no time." "Actually," Master Fu told them, "you can't. With the power of creation, the ladybug is potentially the strongest Miraculous of them all and could easily find ways to overshadow the other Miraculous. In the wrong hands, this could be disastrous. In anticipation of this, the monks who created the Miraculous put some limitations on the ladybug. The ladybug cannot track the activity of the other Miraculous or their users, and the ladybug cannot create anything that can directly affect or target the other Miraculous and their users. In other words, you cannot, in ladybug form, take away another holder's Miraculous, and you can't, for example, create a boxing glove and use that glove to hit another Miraculous user. If you try, there will be a magical interference repelling you away. Because of this limitation, Ladybug Miraculous holders have had to be clever in how to solve problems regarding other Miraculous users." Mari's mouth went agape as she looked at him in disbelief. She then closed her mouth and looked down in defeat. I just thought..." Seeing Mari's disappointment and even feeling some of it himself, Adrian put a hand on her shoulder and gave her a sincere, sympathetic smile. "Thanks for the thought, Mari. It really was a good idea." She gave him a small smile and then sighed and frowned again. "I'm so sorry, Adrian. I can't believe how much is working against us right now." Adrian thought for a moment about their options. He then remembered Natalie in her villain form, Myra. "Wait, so my father stole two Miraculous, the butterfly and the peacock," Master Fu informed them. "And since even that one has a holder now, I'm concerned about the dreadful combination of power against our city." Adrian then said, "Yeah, that's terrible, but I saw how big the Asian miracle box is. You have even more Miraculous, right? Just give out some more Miraculous to trustworthy people, and if we all work together, we can defeat my father." "It's not that simple, Adrian," Fu told him. "How so?" "I was training your father for years to not only become a guardian, but also to become a Miraculous holder and fully understand the weight of being a Miraculous holder. What happened with you and Marinette is not typical. We guardians train the bodies, souls, and minds of those who have a deep understanding of this life. I can't simply hand these Miraculous out to just anyone." "But," Adrian tried to interject, but Fu stopped him. "Not only that, but many of the Miraculous from the Asian miracle box already have caretakers or holders throughout the different countries and regions of Asia. Yes, I have a few with me, but don't you think it would have been irresponsible for me to have them all in my possession? What if someone with evil intentions ever stole the box? They would have access to each of the Miraculouses. Besides, Asia is a big continent. If ever a disaster happened in any part of it and they needed a hero, it's best to have one already established nearby than to come to me. With the system I have, I know the identities of all the holders of the Miraculous from my box, and they all have my information as well. All of that is to say that I cannot form nor call upon a huge army of Miraculous holders from Asia, as that would leave parts of the continent defenseless. Besides," Fu turned his back to them, "if they found out I allowed two of the Miraculous to be stolen, they might not respect me anymore." "Wait, is this about your pride?" Mari exclaimed. With all due respect, Master Fu, and I'm also taking into account how Asia needs its protectors, but Hawkmoth is terrorizing Paris using a Miraculous from the Asian box, and he's trying to kill us. I understand you can't just give Miraculous away to make new heroes, but can't you call 1 or 2 heroes to come help us? She has a point, Adrian added. I feel like the other Miraculous holders would want to know that one of their own has gone rogue. They'd have to feel some sense of responsibility, right? Master Fu sighed. Master Fu, I know it's hard to admit when you've made a mistake, Mari gently tells him, but this is important. You helped keep people safe from bad guys for so many years, and you helped keep things organized. There's no doubt that the people who hold the Miraculous respect you. I don't think that'll change because of something like this. You said it before, right? People have used the Miraculous for evil in the past, and it's the duty of the Miraculous holders to stop them, right? That's what they're trained for? So let them do their job. Adrian watched her give her speech in awe. Unknowingly to Mari, he smiled at her in admiration. After a few moments of silence, Master Fu sighed again and said, You're right, young Marinette, you're right. He turned to face them again. I'll see what I can do. After a couple more conversations of less importance, the trio prepared to call it a day. Master Fu then tells them that whenever they come to visit, always come in their hero forms. They never know if Hawkmoth is using some means to spy on them. The two agree to this. So they both transform and leave, promising to meet back with Fu soon. Fu says to himself that he will also join the search for Hawkmoth, and he wishes them both good luck. In the meantime, he wonders, as he's been doing for a while now, how Adrian even came into the possession of the Black Cat Miraculous. That Miraculous had been lost for decades, and then Adrian just suddenly has it? Why now? Why him? The answers to these questions would have to wait as there were more pressing issues at hand. But as for now, that's all there is. There isn't any more.